Lebanon's finance minister has become the latest cabinet member to resign in the aftermath of last week's deadly explosion. But the resignation, the fourth cabinet member to step down, has done nothing to quell anger over the tragedy. Demonstrators say the country's chronic mismanagement and corruption is responsible for the explosion of more than 2,000 tons of highly explosive material last week. There are reports now that the blast has killed at least 200 people and injured more than 6,000. I'm joined now by Lebanese-Canadian actress Sarah Himadeh. She survived the explosions in Beirut. Her brother, though, was seriously injured. Sarah, good morning. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Can you tell us, first of all, how your brother's doing?
He's doing much better. Thank you very much, Marcia, and he's recovering well.
Okay, that is certainly some good news. So what is going on right now in the city with these ongoing protests?
Let me explain to you what happened this weekend. On Saturday, many of us went to Martyr Square to protest and mourn our beloved city and the victims of last week's explosion. And not only were we met with an overwhelming amount of tear gas, but we were shot at with live ammunition from our government, from our Lebanese army, from our security forces. We weren't even given the opportunity to mourn the men and the women that are injured, that are still missing, and that have died as a result of this explosion. It has left hundreds injured, many journalists, and actually some of my friends, who, when I called them, shared with me that it would take more than 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, tear gas, and live ammunition to stop them from fighting for justice. And I think that's what happened last week. I think that the explosion that detonated last week detonated a bomb in each and every Lebanese person. There is fury all over the streets.
Yeah, it has sparked a movement. So what is it that people want? And I'll just remind everybody that in our lead up to you, we said that cabinet ministers were resigning. Is that giving the protesters, is that giving people who are angry with the system at least some pause? Are they glad for that, at least that the government seems to be understanding their anger?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that it is, we are gaining momentum, and no, because, so as you said, some ministers are resigning and so are members of parliament. But the thing is, if we hold an election, an early election or an election in 2 years, any election without electoral law reforms is a trap. We need to lobby for foreign pressure and local pressure on this government for these reforms to be taking place.
How are people coping mentally right now with so much hardship and loss? Beirut has rebuilt before, but the demands of this are just almost impossible to comprehend.
That's a good question. It's, many of the international community refer to us as very strong and resilient and hopeful. And it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because we continue to rebuild and we continue to rise, and we will rise and we will rebuild. But the thing is that we are such an adaptable people that it could lead to our downfall. We adapt to the worst of circumstances. And I hope in this case we won't. I hope we will rebuild a new Lebanon.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, Sarah Himadeh. All the best to you and to your brother.